All right, today we are diving into one of the most dramatic stories from the life of King David. Seriously, this one is a wild ride. It's a story about a holy mission that starts with this massive celebration, but then it takes a sudden, tragic turn, before ending with one of the most famous acts of worship in history. It's a tale of high stakes, real fear, and unbelievable joy.
And the whole thing really hinges on this one critical question. Can your good intentions, your sincerity, be enough when you're dealing with something sacred? Well, as we're about to see, David's experience gives us a pretty shocking and powerful answer.
So first, let's get on the same page. What exactly is the Ark of the Covenant? You gotta understand, this wasn't just some fancy gold-plated box. For the people of Israel, this was the visible throne of God on earth, the literal symbol of his holy presence and his power among them. To be near the Ark was to be near God himself.
So King David, who's now settled in his new capital, Jerusalem, decides it's time. It's time to bring God's throne, the Ark, right into the heart of the city. He's got this grand plan, and he is fired up, full of zeal and really good intentions.
And when I say grand plan, I mean it. This was no small event. To make this happen, David gathered 30,000 of Israel's best men. Can you just imagine the logistics, the excitement building? This huge crowd was meant to show the entire nation's unified honor for God. It was David's way of showing just how seriously he took this mission, or at least how seriously he thought he was taking it.
The atmosphere was absolutely electric. The Bible says David and all of Israel were celebrating with everything they had. I'm talking songs, lyres, harps, tambourines, the whole shebang. It was a full-on national party, this moment of pure, heartfelt joy as they went to get the Ark. But right in the middle of this incredible celebration, something goes terribly, terribly wrong. And this is the moment when the story just pivots, turning from pure joy to absolute tragedy. And it's here we learn the hard lesson that sometimes zeal just isn't enough.
And here it is. Here's the fatal mistake. David's team put the Ark on a brand new cart pulled by oxen. I mean, it probably seemed like a smart, practical, modern idea, right? But God's law was incredibly specific. The Ark was only to be carried on the shoulders of the priests. And this wasn't just some random rule. It was symbolic. It was meant to show that God's holy presence should be carried by the devotion of his people, not just transported like any old piece of cargo.
And this is really the heart of the matter for this first attempt. All the sincerity, all the music, all that celebration, it couldn't make up for ignoring a direct command from God. God is holy. And the point is, he has to be approached on his terms, not ours. And then, disaster. The oxen stumble, and a man named Uzzah, who's guiding the cart, does what any of us might do. He instinctively reaches out to steady the Ark. And in that instant, the source says, God's anger flared and Uzzah died, right there. His well-intentioned act was seen as a casual, disrespectful treatment of God's absolute holiness.
Well, the party stops immediately. David is described as being both angry and terrified. All that joy is just gone, replaced by shock and confusion. And he asks this question out of fear. How can the Ark of the Lord come to me? He's so shaken up that he just abandons the whole mission and leaves the Ark at the house of some guy who lived nearby.
But the story doesn't end in fear. No. After a period of waiting and maybe some serious reflection, David gets a second chance. He gets an opportunity to do things the right way. And this time, it leads to a completely different result. For 3 months, the whole mission was on hold. The Ark, this object that was now a source of both terror and reverence, just sat at the house of a man named Obed-Edom. And you can bet everyone was just waiting, wondering what was going to happen next. And during that time, something really remarkable happened. Word gets back to David that the Ark isn't bringing death and judgment to Obed-Edom's home. It's the complete opposite. It's bringing incredible blessing. And this is the big light bulb moment for David. He finally gets it. God's presence is dangerous if you treat it casually, but it is life-giving if you receive it in the right way. So David tries again, but this time he does it by the book. The priests carry the Ark on their shoulders, just like they were supposed to. They offer sacrifices every few steps, acknowledging just how serious this is. And then, the shouts of joy and the sound of the horn come back. It's this perfect mix of reverence and celebration.
And this time, David's joy is even greater. He literally strips off his royal robes, puts on a simple linen garment, and just dances with complete and total abandon. His fear has been totally transformed into this uninhibited, humble, beautiful act of worship.
But not everyone saw this amazing display of worship in the same way. As the ark finally makes its way into Jerusalem, a whole new tension pops up, and it's all centered on two completely different ways of looking at David's unrestrained joy.
The contrast here is just stark. You've got David, who humbled himself, setting aside his royal dignity because he was just overwhelmed with the joy of worshiping God. But his wife, Michal, she watched the whole thing from a palace window, clinging to her idea of what was proper and dignified for a king. And the text says she despised him in her heart, because to her, her king just looked like a fool. And that really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? What looks foolish in the world's eyes might just be precious to God. David, by becoming a fool, was able to enter into the joy of the Lord. Michal, by prioritizing her own dignity, missed the glory of the moment completely.
Now, the source material takes this story and draws an even deeper meaning from it, connecting this wooden box to a much, much greater reality from a Christian theological perspective. This is where the story really takes on its full significance.
From this viewpoint, the Ark of the Covenant was like a shadow, a preview of what was to come. Christ is seen as the true meeting place between God and humanity, the one place where God's perfect holiness and His incredible mercy come together.
Just think about it for a second. That one ark brought two very different outcomes: judgment for Uzzah and blessing for Obed-Edom. The theology presented here says that Christ takes on both of those roles. On the cross, He bore the judgment our mistakes deserve, so that we, like Obed-Edom, could receive the blessing of God's presence in our lives.
So what's the big takeaway for how we should approach God? It's this beautiful balance. True worship isn't one or the other. It's a combination of holy fear, like a deep, profound reverence for God's holiness, and holy gladness, the kind of unrestrained joy David showed us. It's both sacrifice and song.
And that leaves us with this final, really challenging thought. If King David could dance with all his might before a wooden box that only symbolized God's presence, then how much more should those who believe God's presence actually dwells with them, through Christ, rejoice? It's a question that really reframes our whole perspective on worship, doesn't it?